Hey y'all, Rick Guy here. Now a lot of y'all have asked me how to travel on a budget. Now this is part of a series. I'm going to do other geographical locations, but today's video I'm going to talk about how to travel to the Caribbean on a budget. Now I do a lot of travel, but for multiple trips for me, it costs a fraction of what one trip may cost for others, and this is how I do it. So share this video with others, subscribe, youtube.com/irixguy, and share with others. Check out all my videos, subscribe, and share with others, because what I'm about to tell you will likely blow your mind. So it's actually a very simplistic process. Now, a few things that you will need a bag that's something you will check in the airport. And I would recommend a sizable bag, because what you're going to do with that bag is you're going to pack non-perishable food items. So you're going to pack some breakfast bars, maybe some Pop-Tarts, beef jerky, fruit roll-ups, ramen noodles, any sort of thing that's non-perishable that you can eat. Even preferably if you don't even have a kitchen where you're staying, something you just pull out and eat, because that's going to take care of food cost. That's going to cut back on food cost drastically. What I would not pack canned goods like soups and stuff because of the weight. And check with your local airline, because if your bag does exceed their specified weight limit, you're probably going to be charged overage charges, which can get really hefty. But the regular charge to check a bag, even though it may seem expensive, and obviously prices fluctuate, but at the time of posting this, I think around $50 US is probably about what most of the airlines are likely charging. So when you look at $50, it's like, well, I'm going to pay $50 to pack all of this food. I'm not going to do that. Well, what you don't realize is that if you don't pack that food, then when you get to the place, because most of the Caribbean, if you go out to eat, it doesn't matter if it's breakfast, lunch, or dinner, it can get quite expensive. But if you at least pack those breakfast bars and items for your breakfast, and you could even eat it for lunch for that matter, you're not going to have to go to the grocery store in the Caribbean, which typically even the local grocery stores charge more, and it's due to the fact that most all of the food items are imported. So here in the United States or in the United Kingdom or wherever you may be, you go to a store and most of those products are produced locally. But when you're dealing with the Caribbean, you're dealing with items that are shipped in by boat, airplane, etc. So it causes the price of those items to go up. So definitely think about it. What types of non-perishable foods can you take? And again, for me, I take beef jerky, I take ramen noodles, I take granola bars, Pop-Tarts, those sorts of things, because and handy snacks, the little cheese and crackers, any sort of snack mix, just something you can eat that when you get up, you can eat that and you can feel satisfied. So that's step one for traveling affordably to the Caribbean, because that is likely, and again, you're going to have to pay to check that bag at the airport, but that cost is likely going to be trumped by the savings, as opposed to if you went to the store when you arrived at that Caribbean destination. Now, when you do arrive at the Caribbean destination, you definitely want to go to the store, because the water down there, although it's good in most places, from my personal experience, I drank some cistern water, and long story short, I had the runs all night, so it wasn't a good experience. For that reason, what I do go to the grocery store, and typically what I do, most of the Caribbean grocery stores have larger containers of water. And I'll get that, and I try to stick with the local brands, because most of the Caribbean islands have water that's sourced from that island, so you're not dealing with the overinflated import costs for bottled water like you may see in the United Kingdom or the United States, etc. So that's something that's affordable to get, typically affordable to get in the Caribbean. It's something I strongly recommend buying once you're there. Something else I recommend packing in that check bag, depending upon where you're staying, and when we're going to where I'm going to tell you to stay, you'll definitely want to bring this, In that check bag, take you some toilet paper, take you some paper towels, because those are products that if you don't have them there, or if you do run out, you're likely going to pay a premium. And they're extremely lightweight to pack. So throw those in there in your check bag. Some other things that you want to throw in, obviously, you don't want to leave home without your suntan lotion. You know, your suntan lotion, your medication, that sort of stuff, deodorant, toothpaste, that stuff that's extremely expensive down there because it's mostly all imported. So be sure to put that in your check bag. And the check bag, even if you don't fill it up all the way, what the check bag does on the return trip, assuming that you've consumed most or all of your food, you know, if you want to bring back the extra, if you just want to leave it wherever, that's up to you. But the check bag on the return flight doubles as a way to transport any souvenir type items, that you may acquire in that Caribbean destination. So that's the way I do it. Now we're going to move into how do I pick the best place to stay in that Caribbean destination. And just to give you a quick summary, and you can check out my thousands of videos, but the places that I've been, Bermuda is not necessarily the Caribbean. I've been to Bermuda, St. John, St. Thomas, Yos Van Dyke, Virgin Gorda, Tortola, Grand Cayman, Jamaica, St. Kitts, Nevis. What am I leaving out? Puerto Rico. Check out all my videos. So I feel that I'm quite well versed with the Caribbean. Now the way that I do this, the first thing I do, okay, after I figured out, I'm going to take this amount of food to take care of my breakfast and or lunches. Because typically when I'm down there, I only eat one meal out. And typically I make that meal where I eat out lunch, because typically lunch prices seem to be less than dinner prices. So that's another helpful hint for you. So how do I find where to stay? Well, number one, I don't do a hotel. When you're looking at a hotel, especially in Caribbean destinations that are perceived honeymoon destinations, special trip destinations, etc., if you look at those hotels, you're likely going to find, and I'm just going to say this in U.S. dollars, you're likely going to find that in U.S. dollars that they're well in excess of $200 U.S. dollars a night, if not closer to the $500 or $600 per night range in U.S. dollars. So what I do is I go to TripAdvisor.com, and let's use St. Thomas as an example. So I would type in St. Thomas in TripAdvisor, and once I had TripAdvisor St. Thomas in there, then I would click vacation rentals in St. Thomas, and then I would sort the results by price, low to high. Now this is where it takes a little bit of time, and I'm not saying a lot of time, but I sort low to high. So now I've got the price, and then I determine, okay, do I want to spend extra for a pool? Do I want to spend extra for, a place that has Wi-Fi internet? Fortunately, most places down there now, most of them do have Wi-Fi internet. So, those extra niceties that you may want. Is it a pool, private pool? Is it a shared pool? Those types of things can affect price, or is it no pool at all? And when you sort those results by price, low to high, then you look through, and this is how I do it. Again, this is my tutorial for how to travel affordably to the Caribbean. So what I do, I look at the search results on TripAdvisor for the vacation rental and the destination, in this case St. Thomas, price low to high. And then I look for the ones that are low that have reviews, because some of them don't have reviews yet, and that's not a problem. Place I stayed in Bermuda, it had 0 reviews at the time of staying there. So I took a total gamble, and it worked out well for me. It was a great place. But typically, what I like to do, especially if I'm not familiar with the geography of the Caribbean destination I'm going to, because I've never been there before. I have been to St. Thomas, obviously, but it's a way to look at the reviews and see what other people said. Because honestly, from my experience, I've never fallen into a trap by following other people's advice. If the place is consistently good from a review perspective, I feel comfortable booking it. And so far, everything that I booked has lived up to its expectations according to the reviews, if not better. There's been some properties I've been to that I felt were even better than what the reviewers let it on to be. A few things you do want to check out, especially in the Caribbean, is that a lot of places, they may not have air conditioning. So check to see if the property has air conditioning, because if it doesn't, and it's not in the, in the rainforest level up high, it could get pretty hot. But keep in mind, even if it doesn't have air conditioning, and I've stayed in a place without air conditioning in St. Thomas actually, and it was fine because it was up in the canopy. And I wasn't there during the hottest part of the season. So, do a Google search, check the seasonal weather patterns for that Caribbean destination and see what the temperature is. Because if you're going to the place without an air conditioner, you want to make sure it's at a high elevation, or you want to make sure that it's at a time of the year, because it's always hot in the Caribbean. But you want to make sure it's at a time of the year where it wouldn't be unpleasantly hot. Because the difference of hypothetically $5 or $10 US a night more to have an air conditioner may be worth it for you. Now keep in mind, a lot of the places in the Caribbean, if they do have air conditioners, typically not over the whole house. There's typically the great room that's not air conditioned, and typically the air conditioning is only in the bedrooms, because these islands, they have a lot of power outages because they don't really have the infrastructure to really thoroughly support all of the demand. So, keep that in mind. You may have a few power outages during the week while you're there. Your water may go out too, because water typically in the islands is coming from a cistern, which means that it's collecting rainwater, and then that rainwater is what you use to bathe and brush your teeth with, flush the toilet. So if it doesn't rain, water can go in short supply. And I'm not trying to freak you out. I'm just saying Caribbean's a different animal. So, this video is not saying, hey, go to top hotel, luxury hotel chain A, B, or C. No, this is anti-hotel. This is saying do your own due diligence. Get on TripAdvisor. Get on another travel review site if there's one you trust more. I use TripAdvisor. Get on there, do what I just did, sort the results, read the reviews, and then look at the price and be like, wow, there's got to be something wrong with this. Because that's the way that I felt the first few times I booked in these Caribbean destinations. And now, obviously, since I've booked multiple destinations multiple times, I'm comfortable with the reviews. I'm comfortable with the laid-back transaction. It's like, typically they'll say, just PayPal me half or whatever, and it's just a very laid-back process. Don't expect your hotel chain, okay, here's your confirmation, and here's your invoice and that sort of stuff. Don't expect all of those things that you're paying more for if you stay at that luxury hotel, or if you just stay at a regular hotel for that matter. So, this is a way to get the room and the board. And I like to refer to it as a pillow. Because typically when you're in these Caribbean destinations, well, at least the way I am, I'm an adventure traveler. So, I'm not in the room. I'm in the room to sleep. And if it's got a pool, I'm in the pool at night just to relax. After filming YouTube videos all day. So, it's really your style of travel. If you want to be pampered and have someone come in and change your sheets every day and spend gobs of money just to go somewhere, that's up to you. Maybe you don't travel as frequently as I do. Maybe you travel every few years and you don't want to have to travel and do your own things, and you don't have to do all this planning just to go on that trip and be affordable. Maybe the hotel, the luxury thing for you for $500 a night is better suited, and that's perfectly fine. I'm not trying to bash anyone here, but what I'm saying is when you look at these prices for a 7-night duration, or whatever duration you may be looking at, I typically do 7 or 9 nights. You're probably going to think that it's fake because it seems so good. But like I said, you've already planned ahead with your groceries, your non-perishable food items. You check those on the plane. You got your toilet paper, you got your paper towels, you got all your medicines and your skincare products and your oral care, your toothpaste and your mouthwash. You planned ahead and you got all of that. You got your suntan lotion. You got your batteries for your cameras, your memory cards for your cameras. You're living like Trump right now. So now you've got your place, you've figured out where you're going to stay. The next thing is transportation. And I will tell you from experience that when I go to Caribbean destinations, I don't go to company ABC that's big in the United States or the UK. I'm not going after big car rental chain, because typically those chains in the Caribbean, even though they're the same umbrella, and I'll just give you a quick experience, and I'm not going to bash the particular brand, but it was a leading brand in the United States, and I happened to book with them because I was able to get a discount because of some previous rentals that I had performed with them in the United States. Got in the airport in St. Thomas, and they were out of cars. Even though I had booked it 6 months in advance, they were out of cars. So long story short, that was a lesson learned. And what happened, I ended up calling the owner that I'd rented the small apartment from in St. Thomas. And he was at work, but he was kind enough to call his friend. So literally had a stranger pick us up at the airport and take us to this rental property. And I mean, everything worked out fine, but it was a weird experience because you didn't expect that. So going forward, and I've been to St. Thomas 3 more times since then, always book with a local car rental outfit. And you can find those, do a Google search for the island that you're going to. And just to give you 2 examples, 2 places that I recommend in St. Thomas is called Discount Car Rental VI. And don't confuse it with Discount, the big brand in the United States. It's called Discount Car Rental VI. Super duper nice people. They pick you up in your Jeep at the airport. They drop you off in your Jeep at the airport when you go home. Perfect transition. In St. Kitts, I recommend a place called Bullseye Rental Car. Same scenario. Pick you up at the airport, and then they return you to the airport on your departure day. In Grand Cayman, I forget the name of the outfit, but it was a local outfit, and it was the same type experience, except Grand Cayman was different because when you go to Cayman, the car rentals are actually right outside of baggage claim. So you walk down and you cross over a street. I mean, it's a short walk. I mean, maybe a 5-minute walk from the baggage claim area. So they didn't have to drop you off and pick you up at the airport in the car. So, check out. That's another thing. Do that. And when you do book with these rental car agencies that are not the leading brands, the local outfits, be sure that you're covered from an insurance perspective. Sort all that out. What I personally do, and obviously check with your own cards or whatever. One of the credit cards that I use, one of the leading brand credit cards, they actually provide rental car insurance. So check with if you're using a credit card, check with your credit card company and ask if they do provide rental car coverage. If so, does it work out of country? What does it cover? Find all of that out. Because if you're covered with a credit card that you currently use, and if you use that credit card to book that rental car, and again, check with your card company, check with the rental car agency, make sure that it's all covered. And if it is, that could be a way for you to save some more money because typically these rental car outfits, they will offer you, well, do you want the insurance X amount per day? So, if you're covered already, that may be a way for you to save some money. When you get that rental car, always be sure to do the walk around with them because they're going to walk around the car and they're going to say, okay, there's a scratch on the door, there's a scratch on the hood, there's a smudge here, there's a cracked windshield, this, that, and the other. Make sure that's all documented. Better yet, pull out your camera phone. Pull out your camcorder. Do a camcorder walk around. Make sure that it's all documented. Not only from a video and photo perspective, but document it on paper. Make sure that both the rental car agency and yourself are in agreement what all types of damage exist with that car prior to leaving that lot. And make sure that it's all documented on the paper and that it's signed. Because when you return that car, if it's not, you could potentially set yourself up for unwanted expenses. And I've never been in that situation, but if you watch my videos, you could probably only imagine how thorough I am with that process. And they're probably intimidated as intimidated by me as I would be by them. So it's kind of a two-way street. But just be prepared. Think about that. Cover yourself, cover them. Be fair, be honest. And something else, be sure to return that rental car with whatever, ask them before you get it, what, do I need to return? Check the level before you leave of gas. And if it's on 3/4 of a tank, then it's likely that, that's documented and say, okay, I'll return it where it was at, 3/4 of a tank. Be sure that's communicated up front so that you know when you return that car, does it have to be returned with 3/4 of a tank, or do they expect a full tank? Because that's another way where you can get, dinged on more charges. So this is the rental car. We've talked about the vacation rental. So now we've got transportation to and from. Something I strongly recommend in most of these tropical islands that you go to in the Caribbean, most of the airports, most of the, actually if you do a Google search for the tourism office at these destinations, most of them have travel maps that you can pick up, maybe even before arriving at the destination. And a lot of them even have them in PDF format. So if you're not familiar with PDF, you can open that from your iPhone, from your Android, etc. And that's a convenient way to have it on your device so that when you're out exploring that island, that you've got a map that's not a paper map. You can just pull it out in digital format on your phone. So great way to know where you are. Brings up another point. Before you go to this place, and this is another way where you get in a world of hurt from a financial perspective. So before you go, if you plan to use credit cards, keep in mind that most of the Caribbean islands, most of them, and some places do, but a lot of places don't take American Express. I've had the best luck with Visa. There's been few places I've been that didn't take Visa. But there have been a minute number of places I've been that didn't take Visa, but they did take American Express, and that's an odd situation. But from my experience, if I take a Visa card, an American Express card, and obviously before I depart for that destination from my home country, whether it's United States or United Kingdom, I call and I say, hey, I'm going to be traveling on X dates. Can you make sure that my credit card is notated so that it doesn't, because otherwise the credit card company may think they're fraudulent charges, and if you're in that location, you don't have your cell phone on, then your card may become deactivated, and you don't know because you don't have your cell phone. It just doesn't work. But if you communicate that up front, there's a good likelihood that it likely will not be deactivated because they know that you'll be in this Caribbean destination from arrival date X to departure date X. So that's another tip. Cell phones. If you plan to use your cell phone, now the USVI, the U.S. Virgin Islands, if you're from the United States, St. John and St. Thomas, unless it changes, I know with AT&T, at least the last time I was down there, that it was treated just like a local call, as if I was in the United States, because I had AT&T from the United States. Check with your cell phone company before you go. Find out, does it work there? Does it incur roaming? Does it incur roaming? Does it incur international charges? Well, what if you want a few minutes? Maybe you want to send a few texts. Is there some sort of temporary plan you can get that you can use during that week or however long you're there? Communicate all that up front. Again, another way to save, to better prevent unexpected cost. So now we're pretty thorough with this process now. And obviously you need to be sure you packed your clothes, you packed swimsuits and some collared shirts to go out to dinner with. Caribbean's pretty casual. Most places you can get away with a collared shirt and a pair of nice shorts for dinner. There are some exceptions where you have to wear pants, but it's a pretty casual place. So, once you get there, you can sit back and you can say, wow, this is a very nice vacation. I'm in this vacation rental. I'm not in a hotel with all these people in the rooms next door, down below me and above me, and I go to the pool and I've got tons of people. It's like you got your own thing. You control your own experience because you've got a rental car and you've got a place to stay and you've got food. You brought food. I mean, you're in a potentially extremely expensive vacation destination, and you're passing those people. This brings up another point. Taxis and buses and that sort of transportation in these islands is outrageous. So that rental car is probably going to save you a lot. And keep in mind, a lot of places you drive on the other side of the road. So if you're from the United States and you're going to an island where you drive on the left, it may take a little bit of getting used to, so be prepared for that. You go to Bermuda, you can't even rent a car. You got to rent a moped. So, be prepared for that. Because it's easy to get into a situation where you're spending, those, and a lot of people don't think about it, but those taxis, if you don't plan ahead and you're having to pay taxis, you're having to pay this, that, and the other, food, that stuff adds up. And before you know it, it's one of those things, you just, planning ahead, following this advice. And I'm not saying I'm the Holy Grail. of Caribbean travel. But what I am saying is that, and you can watch my thousands of videos, is that I feel I'm pretty knowledgeable. Based upon personal experience, I feel that I'm pretty knowledgeable when it comes to traveling in the Caribbean. So, I'm trying to think of anything else. Have those nice meals. Go down there, have some good food. Some of the best food you'll eat in the world. Fresh fish, prepared in a special way, Caribbean style. Get you some jerk chicken. Just stuff that you don't get in the States. And when you go to the grocery store and you get that bottled water, don't buy the domestic beer back in your home place, whether it's UK or United States or wherever. Get the local beer because it's likely cheaper. Don't buy the leading brand soda. Get you the local stuff. Some of the stuff I really like, it's called Busta, B-U-S-T-A. And you can find that in most of the Caribbean places. Busta is a really good soda. And then if you want something kind of good, and it's also good with rum, it's called Ting, T-I-N-G. And it's a Caribbean grapefruit. It's kind of like a Sprite on steroids, I guess is the best way to describe it. You can mix a good, it's good by itself, and it's good to put some rum in with it, make you a ting and sting. And that's another point. When you're in these islands, beer is typically more expensive. But if you go to a store and you buy rum, don't buy the leading brand junk from your home country. Buy the local stuff. You're in the Virgin Islands, get you some cruising. You're in the West Indies, get you some Appleton. Well, if you're in the British Virgin Islands, get some Pussers, the Navy rum. Get those local rums that are likely to be very inexpensive, and just enjoy that instead of drinking the mainstream junk that's going to cost more down there. The local stuff is better. And let's see, what else? And plan ahead. Research that destination thoroughly. Watch my YouTube videos for the various Caribbean islands. See the beaches for yourself. Find what you like, what you want to see before you go there, because it's easy to get there and go from point A to point B constantly and not really go to where you want to go and really get to experience it for a longer duration. So, kind of know ahead what you want to do, but don't plan everything on a trip. This isn't a cruise. You don't have to book your shore excursion. You don't have to book, this is not a cruise. You've got a pillow, you've got a bed, you're in this destination, and you can do what you want to do by way of your rental car. So, these are, I feel these are some solid tips, and it's something that should better enable you to not only experience something that you felt was cost prohibitive, but it should enable you to experience something and be like, well, dadgum, if I went to the beach wherever in, United States, United Kingdom, or wherever, God, I probably would have spent more for that than I did this. I'm sure you got to get airfare. But airfare rates fluctuate, and actually airfare is not, at least at this point in time, it's not as bad as it has been. So, that is an expense that you've got to factor in, because obviously you can't drive to the Caribbean. And if you're taking a boat down there, you're probably not going to be staying on a budget anyway, because you probably got enough money to get, well, if you're taking a boat down there, you're probably sleeping on the boat, because it's probably a pretty big boat. So tell me what you think. Share this video with others. Check out my thousands of videos. I've got playlists from multiple Caribbean destinations. And drop me a line if you have any questions. I'll do my best to try to answer. Maybe even answer in form of a video. Because this is what I'm here for. And it was your feedback that encouraged me to post this video, because a lot of you have asked. And this is how I do it. There's no secrets here. These aren't trade secrets. This is just how IRIC Sky does it. So if you share this advice, what I want you to do is share this video. Tell people that it came from IRIC Sky, youtube.com/IRIC Sky. Encourage them to enjoy my channel. Encourage them to share it with others. And encourage them to ask questions too, because I'm having a good time. I mean, that's ultimately why I do Caribbean travels. Having a good time. It's getting to experience a laid-back culture. Because if you've never been to the Caribbean, Oh, one other thing before I conclude this video. When you're in the Caribbean, don't expect to sit down and have a fast meal. And don't expect to go to a fast food restaurant. Although some of the islands have a handful of fast food restaurants, expect to go in, expect to be waited on, and expect to take your time. And what may take 10 minutes in the United States may take 45 minutes there. Don't get pushy, because if you do, you're not going to be well perceived. It's a totally different vibe. You've heard people say, I'm on island time. And when you're on island time, it just means that it's just relaxed. So it's a good experience. It's a good way to break away and relax. So thanks for watching, and be sure to subscribe. YouTube.com/IrixGuy. Y'all have a good day.